Hello, everyone. Welcome back to this episode of Just Another Year Chicago. Happy draft day. It is the beginning of the 2022 NFL draft, the year of Ryan Poles' first draft as an NFL GM. The Bears have 6 picks this year, and that could change quickly, according to some other factors, which sounds like potentially Robert Quinn, even though Poles is squashing it. Who is not listening to calls? There's multiple GMs that are calling the Chicago Bears. On top of David Montgomery, it's apparently Poles has hinted that the Bears might go after a running back in this draft, and I'm not sure if that's just adding more depth because you do have Khalil Herbert and David Montgomery on the roster, but you never know. Some teams might call it final year of his contract, might give up a couple picks, and GMs are always listening for more draft capital, especially in not a rebuild, a reconstruction. Yes. So, yes. The draft is late this year, April 28th through the 30th. So again, starting today, the Bears do not have a pick as of right now in the first round, but things could change. Just throwing that out there for you guys. The Bears have some key areas of needs, and Ryan Poles and Ian Cunningham will have to be put to the test in their first draft. Tony and I will be breaking down everyone we think that they need in order to become successful, and also guys we think are going to be in these positions. Full disclaimer from both Tony and I is that we are not experts, but we are reading off other analysts, and we think that this draft is very fair. So, Tony, before we begin, how are you feeling entering this 2022 NFL draft?
Excited, confused, a little scared. I don't really know it because we keep talking about. We talked about it yesterday. This is going to be a crazy draft. No one really knows what's going to happen. So, even if we were experts, Daniel Jeremiah, those guys of the world, they don't know what's going to happen. They don't even know who the first pick is going to be yet. The odds keep changing. This is going to be a fun draft. I think the Bears could definitely move up. They could move up to 17 with the Chargers and give up picks, or they can move back and acquire a bunch. So excited. I think excited.
Yeah. I am too. And what I'm excited to bring you guys today from Just Another Year Chicago is that we are working with Draftking Sportsbook. So with that, we'd like to thank Draftking Sportsbook as this episode's sponsor. Basketball playoffs mean next level basketball. Get in on the playoff action with Draftking Sportsbook. This week, new customers can bet $5 on any team to win and get $150 in free bets instantly. You win no matter what. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code JAY Chicago. That is J Chicago. Bet $5 on any basketball team to win their game during the playoffs and get $150 in free bets instantly. That's promo code JAY Chicago at DraftKings Sportsbook.
Yeah. So we can get right into it, Nick, if you're okay with that.
Let's go.
Kick it off. All right. So round 2, 39th overall pick, the Bears' first pick currently as it stands in the NFL draft. So quick disclaimer about my whole draft in general. I stuck with a lot of the same guys, mostly because I think that's who they're going to take. I think that these are guys that fill their areas of need. And they've been rumored to a lot of these guys. So a lot of these guys are going to be repeats, but I'll try to explain my reasoning differently. So you guys are just listening to the same thing over and over. So George Pickens, I know we said it yesterday. I really think that this is a guy, one, that the Bears are interested in. 2, it's that home run swing that it does obviously have some downside because of his injuries, because some scouts are a little worried about him and his commitment and dedication to, being coachable and football. But I think that's a lot of just, guys blowing smoke. He could be the best player that comes out of this draft. He could truly be a superstar. And I think there's no better way to start off the Ryan Poles era than making that big move, getting your generational talent in the, middle of the second round or something, because you're not scared to take a guy who, he hurt his leg, whatever, dude. The doctors will fix it. He'll be fine.
Well, modern technology, we all know that Tony agrees with that. And I like George Pickens too. I think that he does bring that a bit, that kind of Jalen Johnson kind of feel, like, high risk, but insanely high reward. And that has worked out for the Bears the last couple of years. Tevin Jenkins also was super high risk, high reward. And yes, it's got off to a rocky start, but also at 39 in Tevin Jenkins, he actually started to progress pretty well at the end of the season. His back is looking strong. He looks good so far during the voluntary mini camps, which he's attended all of them, by the way. He really wants his team to do well. I'm excited about that. So I like George Pickens at round 2, pick 39 as well. I am going with my guy that I've said a trillion times, and I'm sticking with it. But Christian Watson, man, wide receiver out of North Dakota State University. I love this guy. I really think that he is the answer of someone that the Bears are looking for at the wide receiver position. He also has a really clean injury record that makes me feel a lot more comfortable. And also, I could see him slipping to either 39 or 47. It depends on teams' needs and how kind of everyone's feeling over the next couple of hours heading into it. So he has fallen slightly, but he fits well into the Luke Getsy offense because he has that ability of someone that can jump up after the ball and beat defenders by literally jumping or standing over them, considering that he is 6'4". He's very large. He has great speed, great athletic ability, and he's good at going over smaller defenders. He might be a slim guy, but he's very strong. If you look at him, there's not an ounce of fat on this guy. And, being 6'4", 212 might not look that way. But again, he is a college athlete, soon to be NFL athlete, could be a very big reason for Justin Fields' next step. You have to have a guy that's at least over 6'3", in my opinion, at least one of them on the roster at all times. We have St. Brown right now, but Christian Watson does bring that ability. And again, he ripped it up in college at North Dakota State University. Smaller school, but Jerry Rice also went to a smaller school. I could see them taking him at 39, which I am very excited about. So, Tony, before we move into round 2, any more comments on why we chose the guys that we chose?
Again, I know I've said it every time. Quick reminder, if the Bears take Christian Watson 39 overall, please credit me and Just Another Year Chicago. I broke the news. Then the Twitter scouts with the blue check marks jumped on hours later. So just want to throw that out there, Nick. You may proceed.
I definitely agree. Tony is a time teller, if you can't tell. Or time traveler, if you can't tell. So round 2, pick 48 from the Los Angeles Chargers from the Khalil Mack trade. I'm going with an offensive lineman because I feel that this lineman draft is absolutely stacked, and 6'4" wide receivers, 6'3" wide receivers like our last two don't come around as often as these guys. So Jamari Salyer, offensive lineman from Georgia. I actually picked him at 39 in one of my older mock drafts, but he's 6'3", 321. He is listed as a tackle, but with his size in the NFL, he is likely going to move over to guard, which scouts are saying that is a better option for him with his playing ability. He's very large and very athletic for his size, which meaning by he's quick, he's got good, strong feet and strong hands. And some guys are even saying that he has the strongest hands in this draft. And from a lineman's perspective, strong hands mean being able to push guys, being able to, swat down defensemen when they're trying to do spin moves on them. I think that's Salyer would be a great fit for the Chicago Bears, especially across from Cody Whitehair. And that lets Lucas Patrick play at the center position where he is ranked 3rd in run blocking amongst centers in the NFL last season. So I am very excited about that. And back in 2021, he only had four pressures in 2021. That's pretty freaking amazing. Out of 794 snaps, that's pretty darn good in my opinion. Tony, you're going with a wide receiver again in round 2 of this draft. I know that this is a big area of needs. And yesterday's episode, you talked about how some guys aren't going to make the roster. But I like this pick because another big wide receiver that could easily be wide receiver 3 and make a true 3-headed monster for Justin Fields.
Yeah, so I did this a little weird. I probably could have done it a different way, but I actually want the guy that you just talked about. I would like him here if we go wide receiver first. However, this is kind of if we don't get the wide receivers we want in the first round and we do end up going with a lineman, I decided to throw David Bell in here from Purdue just because that's a guy I would love. Like we talked about it yesterday. 6'1", 212. He's considered one of the bigger wide receivers in the draft. So he used to be, I think we were taking him in round 2, pick 39, when we first started. But he just kind of slipped. I think the shine on him has worn off a little bit, which I don't think it should have. It just has. He had a huge year last year. And he may end up being an absolute steal of the draft just because it is such a stacked wide receiver class. Everyone's all over the board size-wise, what school they went to, that I think scouts are almost having a little bit of trouble basically figuring out who's going to work. So, and we see it every year. I mean, it's an impossible job. So 2021, he had 93 receptions, 1,286 yards, 13.8 yards per catch. Pretty dang good. 6 touchdowns. And I had to say, I think 5 might have been the most important touchdowns. 5 of them were the most important touchdowns of Purdue's season as they were knocking off opponents. So he would be the biggest wide receiver on our roster. Obviously, if they don't take
overall
biggest.
Overall,
yes,
Brown,
the largest. Yeah. But he would also be able to provide just that brute strength, speed, and a strong red zone target, which is definitely something Justin Fields needs. As we've seen, we can only move the ball between the 20s, and we need to do anything we can to move the ball after getting to the 20-yard line inside the red zone. So I can see him being getting picked up in the third. I can see him going earlier too. Again, this draft is crazy. I do not know what's going to happen. I'm just going to put it out there, but if any draft has the potential for a guy like this to fall, it's this one.
Yeah, and it's just so weird because like the positions of need for the Chicago Bears, this is like the Bears draft. If you were to ask for the perfect draft for the Chicago Bears, it would be this draft because guys are going to go at positions or times, and you're going to be like, how did that happen? And again, there are hundreds of players. This is the guys that we think are best for the Chicago Bears fit if all the stars align. So going into pick number 3 in the third round at pick number 71, the Chicago Bears, in my opinion, are going to be selecting Nicholas Petit-Frere, offensive lineman out of Ohio State, 6'5", but 316. So he is tall and lanky, all things considered, for an NFL lineman. I mean, he has 100 pounds on Christian Watson, if that makes for being the same exact height. But he's light and big, and which makes him quicker for his size and someone who can pick up the guard or tackle position. I mean, this guy would definitely be the biggest guard in the NFL by far. He has a 5.14 dash time, making him a decent run blocker upfield if you were to do a swing out. He is very athletic and has loose hips and can move quickly, which is something that this offense absolutely needs under Luke Getsy. I mean, look how the Packers have worked the last couple of years. Maintains footwork well and doesn't hold defenders, which is good. Doesn't get penalized a lot, which, that's kind of what we're looking out for. In regards to holding, he does get false starts a lot. That's one thing that definitely hurts him a little bit. But also, he knows Justin Fields. And he has an instant relationship with him then. Fields can kind of be a good mentor for him in the locker room, kind of bring him up to speed on how the NFL game works. So that is why I like him at pick number 71. Tony is finally taking an offensive lineman in the third round that we've talked about before. And I think you guys, according to our Instagram, which make sure you go and follow, everyone seems to like him a lot too. So Tony, 71, who are you taking?
I'm taking Darian Kennard, tackle out of Kentucky. This is a guy, again, this is a repeat from the last mock because I just really like this guy. I think this guy he provides a lot of what, or he can fill a lot of holes that the Bears need. He can provide a lot of help in just an overall offensive line that we're still trying to figure out. He's 6'5", 322. He was a tackle in college, and he'll most likely convert to guard in the NFL. However, he has the ability to play both. So he can basically play 4 of the 5 offensive line positions, which again, I would pray that we will be 100% healthy as a team for the rest of our lives. However, when that doesn't happen, this is a guy that can fill in certain roles. We can move him around because we also have other guys on our line that can move around. So that's kind of nice. So he had 825 snaps last year, 411 run snaps, run plays, 414 were pass. He gave him 1 sack, 2 quarterback hits, 4 total hurries, which that's just insane. And they didn't play the best competition at times, but they also played teams like Georgia. They played some of those bigger SEC schools. So he got a run block grade of 91.8 last year. Only allowed 1 pressure in his final 5 games. At PFF, he's been quoting. I think I may have read this one before. They quoted that Kennard is one of the most accomplished run blockers at the tackle position in college football. Even though he may end up at guard, he earned 89.0 or higher on his run blocking grades over the past 3 seasons. That's just a guy that, especially in the 5th round, that's great. That's just fantastic value. Again, that could be a guy that goes way higher. That could be a guy that we overdraft just because there could be a ton of linemen left on the board. They could all be gone by the 3rd round. Crazy draft. So speaking of awesome, crazy, I don't know, whatever. I like this guy's name. That's my main point. So round 5, 146th pick is from Houston. I love this guy. So I had Tariq Woolen here for a while, but it seems like he's been moving up. So I don't think he's going to end up being available. So the guy I'm going to take is Smoke Monday. I mentioned him on the 420 episode we did. So he's a safety out of Auburn, 6'2", 207. He's a 2-year starter with a fierce field demeanor, but he does have some limitations that could be a concern in the passing game. Smoke Monday, again, I love saying his name so much. He's an alpha when hitting. So hitting is always on his mind, which is completely opposite of Eddie Jackson. So that's kind of nice.
Oh,
But let's just call it what it is. Call it what it is.
Hey, go ahead, keep going.
So that being said, occasionally, ironically, also like Eddie Jackson, that can lead to some missed tackles because he is big game hunting, which is again not like Eddie Jackson. But either way, I'll stop hating on Eddie Jackson. He lacks that top end speed sometimes. That's kind of another one of the drawbacks. He kind of lacks, the top end speed to stay connected for long periods of time, and his instincts and play recognition can be spotty. There's a lot of downfalls. I know that they're being very nitpicky. This is kind of a lot from the NFL Combine.
That's why he's a 5th round pick.
That's why he's a 5th round pick, of course. But he should find a role as a force player near the line of scrimmage. So his ceiling might be dictated by how a team decides to use him. I can definitely see him being kind of a nickel linebacker. I don't know. My brain is broken. So either way, great name. That's who I think would be fun in the 5th round. Great name. Great.
And I'm also going with a defensive back in the 5th round, an area of need for the Chicago Bears, but another deep area in this draft. And I'm going with Martin Emerson, cornerback from Mississippi State. He will likely be gone unfortunately at the 146th pick, but you never know. It's the NFL draft. There are always guys that drop lower, get chips on their shoulder, and definitely want to play out. But this guy is 6'2", 201, and 21 years old. He would be a big cornerback for the Chicago Bears to pair up alongside Jalen Johnson. Not saying he's for sure a starter, but that size, you got to respect it a little bit. But for that size, 4.53 40 dash time, which is fast, all things considered, which is fast. And with the NFL, he can likely creep up into that 4.4 plus range, which would obviously be good. Very good size and length for a DB. He also has great punt return and kick return talent. So kind of like we said yesterday, Samuel might not be on the Chicago Bears roster anymore. Take this guy in, take over that position, could be good for the Chicago Bears. One thing that he's good at being patient and not getting burned. And that's something that really needs to happen for the Chicago Bears. But totally opposite of Smoke Monday, he's not as aggressive when it comes to hitting. Kind of a big worry for the Chicago Bears. But hey, bring him in as a punt return, kick returner. That's fine with me. So a couple picks later over at pick number 148, we're going to speed through this round. We're going to take the hometown kid. I'm taking the hometown kid at this pick. Alec Pierce, wide receiver out of Cincinnati. A lot of people are hyped up on him because he's a Chicago kid, but you have to put all things considered. He is ranked at 147 as of right now. So honestly, I'd take him at 146 just to, have fun with that. But also if he's available at 148, by all means, take him. This gives a chance for someone to show that they're more than just hype. I think that he could be just an absolute steal. 4.41 40 time. He's big and fast at 6'3", 221. 40.5 inch vertical, can jump up over smaller, even bigger defenders and be able to go out and make a play. And in the red zone, toss it up to him. He's going to go up and get it. So that's huge. Stats last year, 52 receptions, 844 yards, 17 yards per catch, 7 touchdowns. Those are big man stats, and I love every single thing about it. So, Tony, going into a big man, but on the different side of the ball, Who are you going with?
I was going to say, speaking of big man, Donovan West, defensive lineman, 6'4", 300 out of Arizona State, big boy. Basically, Eddie Goldman could replace Bilal Nichols. We need a big boy in the middle to help stop the run, since we're losing Hicks and Nichols. And with the uncertainty surrounding Eddie Goldman, it sounds like it's pretty freaking certain, but you never know. There's a lot of time before the season starts. This is a deep defensive line draft. So,
and in regards to Tony's comment in regards to Eddie Goldman has been released by the Chicago Bears, but could rework out his contract. He has not been signed by anybody yet. Bears could potentially bring him back. We are always, they still could bring back Akeem Hicks, just putting that out there. But with the uncertainty of Eddie Goldman's exposition, yes, that is what Tony and I discussed off camera. So just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you for clarifying that, Nick. I know I didn't do a good job. I appreciate that. So this is a deep defensive line draft, as well as literally every other position except for quarterback. So he may be available in the 6th round, but I'm okay with going to get your guy when he can. So this is a guy that I think, like I said, would be that good, just plug up kind of guy, if that makes sense. So round 6, pick 6, round 6, pick number 185 overall. Who knows? This pick may be gone when we trade up or move back. May have to throw it in. So I'm taking another Cincinnati boy like Nick did. I think Cincinnati is going to have a lot of guys that come out that team and actually do really well in the NFL. Darian Beavers, linebacker out of Cincinnati, 6'4", 255. Dick Butkus Award finalist, first team all AAC selection. Great defensive player on a college football playoff team, on a very good team. He had a sack in each of their first 5 games, 98 total tackles, just a ton of tackles all over the field. Be a great guy to pair up with Roquan Smith as just dudes that tackle. Like, that's the best way I could put it. Just dudes that rack up tackles. So, yeah.
Love it. Love it. I think that he'd be a great pair too. I know that I have Nicholas Moreau this year, but he'd be a great guy to learn from these two. And then finally, at round 6, pick 185, the Chicago Bears, in my opinion, will select Jaden Petey, defensive lineman out of Texas A&M. Talked about him before, but 6'5", 319. Brings a lot of size that, like Hicks, but could put on another 30 pounds and literally be Akeem Hicks. He's a big size that allows, pass deflection opportunities, especially those short throws up the middle. He can go out and be like, nope, not today, son, not doing that. He had 43 total tackles, 17 of them being solo, 2 sacks, 1 forced fumble, and 3 pass deflections. That's where I really like him coming in. He also has a 5.3 dash time. Considering how big he is, that's pretty darn fast. And he has fiery hands that are able to confuse linemen and throw them off to the side. So I really like that. I really like our drafts overall. I think that Ryan Poles is going to do a great job entering 2022. Tony, any more comments before we close out?
Nope. You're welcome for telling you all the picks. So bet accordingly. And you're welcome. And responsibly.
And responsibly. Again, go to over to DraftKings. Make sure that you look at our sponsorship we talked about earlier in the episode. But with that, thank you very much for joining this episode of Just Another Year Chicago. We will see you guys after the NFL draft, talking about everyone that Ryan Poles decides to take. We'll see you guys soon. Have a great day, Chicago.